First off, I want to thank the brave men and women who work behind the wall. I want to thank them on a national level because their job goes unrecognized.
How do they try to turn a guard?
Well, correctional officer. Sorry, I apologize. But correctional officer. How you guys doing today? It's Anthony Gangi. Welcome to another episode of Tier Talk. This time I'm giving the show over to Russ. Russ is going to be talking about directives. It's what we covered yesterday. He's going to complement that video to kind of give us a bigger perspective. Always great content coming from Russ. And don't forget, guys, Russ has a course coming out soon, too. He's working with Academy Hour as well. So we have to look for his stuff. It should be coming up around March. Same as mine. I'm really excited to join this adventure with Russ. We worked hard to get to this point. So, and again, Russ, great video again. Thank you for helping me complement what I started. I appreciate it because, again, I kind of start something, you're able to slam it home, and that's what teamwork is about. Now, guys, if you haven't, the show Tier Talks for you, brave men and women that work in correction, so please subscribe, interact, engage, comment, hit that bell. That bell's going to notify you every time I post a video. We'll go to our sponsor and come back. I give the show over to Russ, and Russ will talk about handing out those directives. Stand by.
I wanted to attend a university that had an intelligence program. I wanted to look at problems different. I wanted to increase my critical thinking abilities. AMU offered those avenues to expand. Obtaining your degree as an adult, you're actually paying yourself and investing in yourself. You can't put a dollar on it, it's priceless. It's something that can never be taken away from you.
American Military University. Learn from the leader.
2 online courses available soon. Inmate Manipulation, the psychology behind inmate manipulation, taught by Anthony Gangi, and Complacency in Corrections, tactics to keep yourself alert, taught by Russ Hamilton, coming March of 2020.
Hi there, Tier Talk fans. This is Russ Hamilton from Keepers of Chaos. So anyway, Anthony Gangi asked me to drop in a quick video, and he wanted this one to be about giving directives to inmate, also known as communication. So this is one of those things that it's really hard for a lot of guys that are brand new in their department, brand new to corrections, to really get a hold of and start being able to interface with inmates and give them directives and talk to them and to have that easy outcome. Because one of the things that inmates will do a lot is they will test you. And they're testing you all the time, especially if you're young or new. And if you're young and new, it's even worse. So we're going to break this subject down, and I'm going to talk to you mostly about what I've learned down through the years about talking to inmates, but specifically about giving them directives, aka orders, and how to make it easier and how to get the thing that we always want, which is compliance. So there's a couple of different little tools that people sometimes use and will talk about that you hear a lot of on the internet. And one of those is a little something called verbal judo. Okay. So if you ever bother to take the course, there are some good things in there. The personal problem that I have with verbal judo is that people think that it's a big panacea of how to be able to deal with the situation and never ever end up in a scuffle, never be assaulted, never any of that. They think that that's the be all end all, and it's not. It's just one way to get from one point to another and maybe hopefully not have that physical conflict. But it's not magic, and it has its place, but its place is actually pretty limited. And the other one is a little tool that a lot of people use that makes it real easy to remember how to get inmates to do things, but it by itself without context is not that great. It's the old automatic teller machine. Ask, tell, make is what it actually is. So that's good. The first thing you do is you ask the inmate, then you tell the inmate, then you make the inmate. Yeah, sometimes you go through that too fast. It can be good. It can be bad. So let's get right to the 5 things that I think about when I'm trying to get compliance from an inmate and how I try and get it there using, the gift of gab rather than the physical, rather than the use of force. But don't ever count that out, because use of force is how we backstop everything we do. All right. Don't go in there thinking that you're going to magically somehow talk to people all the time, because these people aren't that way. Little story before I get started. right? I had a lot of people tell, oh, yeah, I can talk to anyone. I can talk anyone out of anything. I never have to use force. I had this guy tell me this just the other day, right? Because they think that inmates operate on the same set of principles that they do. They don't, right? I had a friend of mine who, he asked this inmate was a very, what shall we say, infamous individual by the name of Richard Ramirez, who's also known as the Night Stalker in California. And he asked this inmate, well, why did you cut that one girl's eyes out? And he said, well, you know, she just had really pretty eyes. So if you think that they are on your level and that they share the values that they do, that's just a story to show you that they don't. All right, let's jump into this thing. 1 through 5. We're going to start out. Number 1, what I want to tell you about getting an inmate to comply, you always want to start with what I call the neutral affect, right? You're not trying to intone that, you know, he's got to do this right now or else. The tone is important. The words are important. Hey, could you give me your ID? All right. That's pretty simple. What have we done there? We've made it into a request rather than an order, because a request is easier for an inmate to follow than an order is, especially if he's in front of people, right? Well, why do we want to do that? Because we don't want to do that next 3, which is on the list actually, which is painting them into a corner, right? At the same time, we always want to give them an out. Not an out where they don't comply, but an out where they're able to comply and save face, right? So that's number 2 and number 3. But just getting back to the neutral affect part of it. Okay. You always want to put into the tone that there's no sense of urgency. It's not a right now kind of thing, because that intimates that an order is being given rather than a request. So keep it simple, keep it neutral, put it back on them. If it comes down to the point that you're going to try and use some kind of coercion on them, like writing them up, never start with the idea that I'm going to write you up if you don't do this. All right. Because what does that do? That places them in a position where they are being painted into a corner now. Right. Because now it's become I and it's become them, that person, I and you. So you're going to say, hey, you know what? If you don't clean this area up like you've been told, it's going to end up in a write-up. So what have you done? You've taken him out of the equation. It's going to end up in a write-up, not for you. And it's not that I'm going to write you up, but you're going to be written up. It's kind of indistinct. And yet that's something that you can always use. At the beginning of this particular video segment that I'm doing, I wish I'd said this right before, but you know, this is really simple stuff. This is Corrections 101. And yet a lot of people, they never get past the point of thinking about these simple things, right? Or they are, and they're able to actually start communicating with inmates, but they don't have any idea of a way to pass this on to their staff once they become a trainer or supervisor. So these are things that we just want to think about all the time. You know, try and make it a request and then put it off on things like, well, you know, that is policy, or this is the way that, and this is fine to put yourself back. This is the way I operate. This is what I require of everyone. I'm not singling you out. You don't have to say that I'm not singling you out, because you've already said, this is what I require of everyone, right? And that's the thing that keeps it within the bounds, that it's easier for these guys to follow the orders, right? Number 4 is you always put the choice back on them, all right? You're telling them basically, and these are not the words you want to use, well, we can do this the easy way, or we can do this the hard way. Because what's that doing? That's painting them into a corner. It's questioning their manhood, so to speak. It's questioning how much of a badass they think they really are, right? So we don't want to use words like that. But what we do is we want to put the choice on them. And I said, you know, this could end up in a write-up, and then you would end up not being able to have contact visits this weekend. You know, put that choice on them. And sometimes it helps if you put that in front of other inmates, because then what happens is, man, later he can say to him, well, you know, I really haven't seen my girls in a while, or haven't seen my wife, I haven't seen my brother. You know, I don't like have contact behind glass. It gives them, once again, what did I say about number 2? Leave them an out. give them a way to save face. It's really pretty simple. And then the last thing is number 5 is know the difference between this, what I've called this neutral affect principle, right? And when you should be doing and saying other things. Because trying to get compliance is one thing. When you need to get compliance now, because it's an emergent situation and it's life and death or life and safety, then it's not appropriate to be, going around this whole circle and stuff. This is the time where it's okay to say things like, put your hands behind your back, do it now. All right? Command presence, right? Sometimes we have to go from command presence to a command inevitability where they know that force is about to be used. All right? Pretty easy, pretty simple. I'll run through them once again. 1, maintain that neutral affect. All right? 2, leave them an out. Give them a way to save face. Number 3, which is kind of the same thing, but you got to think about it. Don't paint them into a corner. Don't paint yourself into a corner either. All right. Number 4, put the choice back on them. Don't make it about you've decided you're going to go ahead and cuff them up, or you've decided that you're going to go ahead and use force. Put it where they've decided that that's the only way it can go. All right. That brings back to you what? The mantle of innocence, right? So that you're staying within policy and you're staying within the professionalism of your particular title. All right. And then last, knowing the difference, knowing when it's appropriate to stay in that neutral affect and to give them orders, and just how much, how much courtesy you're going to bring to it. It's fine to bring courtesy to it. I'm not the kind of guy that is going to say, please or thank you. I'll kind of leave that kind of the intonation up to them that I appreciate their compliance. But if you want to say please or thank you, that's fine too. All right. But then there's a time and place where it's not about asking them nicely anymore. It's about demanding immediate compliance or force is going to be used. Anyway, this is Russ Hamilton. I hope you guys take something away from this. I'm signing out. Stay safe, stay frosty, stay aware.